everybody, we are here with actor Joe Anderson, and he is in a new film called The Devil Conspiracy, and it comes out only in theaters this Friday, January 13th. Joe, how are you, man?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm actually looking forward to seeing this. I mean, I've seen it, but I'm not actually looking forward to seeing it on a big screen. I've only seen it on my laptop, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I was wondering.
Remembering the grueling makeup, hours and hours in makeup.
Yeah, it's like how. Okay, well, we'll get to that one, but can you tell us about the film?
Okay, so basically a biotech company has discovered a way to clone and grow anything from a tiny amount of residual DNA, so they don't have to have a huge amount. And they, a satanic group, get hold of the shroud, and without going into too much detail, they start to use that technology to create the antithesis of Christ on the planet. So it's well, I don't want to give too much away, but that's basically bringing the devil to the world through this technology. Is basically
it sounds like a reasonable plan. I mean,
yeah,
but you you actually got a pretty good role. Can you tell us about your character, who you play?
So I play Lucifer, who has literally just been cast out of heaven. So he's a devil in the sense of the sort of true archetypal devil. He's the William Blake devil. He's what we would see in the stained glass windows. He's the Lucifer bearer of light, as opposed to the very suave devil who might be walking around New York creating havoc or whatever. So he's been cast out, and that's where we meet him. And he hasn't had time to really even become a sort of mwahaha devil, if that makes sense. He is literally a fallen angel. It's been cast out. Michael's there to make sure that he stays in hell, chains him in hell, and then as the film goes on, he might or might not find his way out.
At this point in the story, he's just been thrown into hell, and
the movie literally opens with him being cast coming through the atmosphere, bursting through Earth and landing in hell. It's pretty cool opening. But yeah, so it's literally that. He's been there for 5 minutes.
So how did you prepare to play the devil or Lucifer? I mean, did you try to make him? I mean, you bring up that he was at a very specific time, but like, did you try to normalize him? Did you try to?
It was because it was really dependent upon what was in the script. So there were no huge extended dialogue scenes with him. So it was very specific and concentrated every time that we saw him. So prior to getting out to Prague, where we shot it, I had come up with all these little sort of nuanced things for him. And then I got to Prague, saw the physical design, the makeup, and went, oh my goodness, my characters, what I've come up with in my head is never going to fit that guy. So I suddenly had to kind of rejig what I was thinking, because I didn't know visually what I was getting into until I actually got to Prague. And then once we got the costume on and started to play, it sort of came outside in. Really, it dictated what I could and couldn't do, and also to try and keep the language pretty down the line, that not too much flair in terms of the way that I said anything. You didn't want to overdo it. The look was so much anyway, and the look is so good that you didn't want to go screw it up by doing some kind of ridiculous voice just to add to it. So it was actually more about holding back and allowing the physicality of it to do most of the work.
Let's talk a little bit about the look of Lucifer. And you're covered in makeup. And you know, can you describe what the look was and how long it took to get there?
Yeah, Millennium Effects created I can't remember how many pieces it was, but they did a full cast of my head. I think they did a full bust, basically, plaster of Paris cast, which is not, I don't know if you've ever had that done, but it's the most claustrophobic thing you've ever.
Yeah, I know what.
It's trippy. It's not cool. And it gets hot too. It's weird. Anyway, so they did that, but I hadn't. So that was at the just at the cast stage. So I didn't see anything until I got there. But I think it was about 3.5, 4 hours. I could be. It was a while ago. I could be lying. It might have even been longer than that to get into it. But it was, I mean, literally from foot to the top of my head everything was real. There was no green screen. There was no green or blue bits on me that would be filled in later. I mean, it was all there. And again, it was suddenly went, oh, I have to change. I can't just move like I'm getting up to go get a cup of coffee. Like, it's the guy has to have a physicality, and it will just develop really from the outside in, from the costume, and also from not being, he wasn't tricksy in any way. There was no, the trickster element of the devil character hadn't come into play yet. It was a very linear sort of journey for him. He needs to get out of hell, and that's that. So.
Right. Well, I mean, there was no time because it literally had he is just a freshly fallen angel. So
literally, yeah.
Now,
he hasn't had time to be a devil yet. So yeah.
Now, when you're considering projects, what do you look for, and what did the Devil Conspiracy have that made you be like, yes?
I'd look for something that I would want to watch always. Well, you know, is it something that I would want to watch? And usually I'm not a big fantasy guy. I'm not. I've always had this sort of slight disconnect with things. If it can't really happen, then I kind of don't want to know about it. So my Lord the Dragon approaches, I kind of have a bit of trouble with that, and especially if it's a tennis ball on a stick. And so, but sci-fi, and then grit, and then dark gritty human tales are what I like. And this had the best of both for me. Really, I just thought it was a great premise to take religion, science, blended over genetics, which is, I mean, it's very apt. There's a whole sort of, ancient aliens conspiracy, Sumerian, how were we made, all that sort of stuff to it. Not necessarily with this film, but I think it's just relevant. And I get off on that. I geek out on it. I love it. I think it's awesome. And also just to play the devil, it's super fun. Like, yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah, it's like like you were saying, it's like a big religious sci-fi fantasy, horror thing. There's a lot going on there.
Yeah, it is, and it's a lot. I mean, I worked sort of in a vacuum, really. I only shot for 3 or 4 days in Prague in a quarry, in a limestone quarry, which is where we had the hell set. So it was all real. I didn't have to look at any green screen or blue screen. I mean, we were there doing that, but it was completely isolated from the rest of any other actor in the movie. So we shot our stuff, and they did their stuff, and keeping one eye on the other, and hope that it all worked together. So
you bring up a lot about practical sets, practical makeup, and your dislike for a tennis ball in the place of a dragon. Like, do you feel that the practicality of those things enhanced your performance, or does that enhance performance?
Well, no, I don't know. I don't believe. I mean, yeah, I don't believe. Well, so you can be filming something, and sometimes you can be filming a scene with an actor, And then on the close-up, there isn't enough room for them to be beside the camera. So you're looking at the matte box of the camera. So you spent the whole afternoon looking at a real person. And then when it's the close-up, you're looking at a bit of white tape stuck to the matte box of the camera. So it happens all the time, you know, it happens. And you know, with distractions, the one I love is, you know, do you mind, am I in your eye line? And I'm like, well, it's no problem, dude, because there's a whacking great big light there. There's something else over here. There's everything's in my eye line. You know, like what difference does it make? But yeah, so that you know, it can be tricky, but really it's all pretend, you know, and you just get into it and go for it.
It's all part of the job.
Yeah, and but for sure it would be harder to do it. Let's say if they had me in a blue spandex suit, you know what I mean, like a blue thing, and then I had to do it. That would be tricky, just because you feel exposed. You don't feel like you have gravitas or anything. So at least with that, you can kind of hide behind that mask, you know. Yeah.
Awesome. So, are you a horror fan? I mean, like, or more of a?
I am, and there's not enough good ones.
There we are.
Yeah, I am. I get so frustrated with it. I get so frustrated. I've been dying. I mean, I've been dying to find a horror movie and another one that I go, yes, that's a great. Yeah.
Did you see Barbarian?
No. Now I sound like an idiot. Okay.
No.
Barbarian.
I mean, you're right, but Barbarian was amazing.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That's going to be my watch tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
You're going to dig it. But do you have any favorites or no?
The most recent one, I don't know. I enjoyed Hereditary.
Yes, one of my favorites.
Hereditary. Yeah, I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I want more of those. I want more of like the Jacob's Ladder, those kind of. I mean, yeah, I know it's completely different to Hereditary, but those, they have a certain smell. They have a certain way of dealing with the psychological side of human beings that just they kind of get you in a way that I'm just sick of violence. It's not about the violence. It's not about that. No. Yeah. And that's the thing. There's been a saturation of it. There always has been. But the over, maybe I'm be a bit, but there seems to be, through the digital platforms, there seems to be an oversaturation. We'll buy your smaller budget horror movie that you've made for blah blah blah, and it sort of just lowers the bar a little bit because there's so many of them out there. But it just all it does, it means I just have to watch a lot more bad ones before I find a really good one. But Barbarian,
I feel you.
Yeah, right.
So what's next for you after that?
Well, I've just finished a film called The Last Front, which is a First World War movie. Ian Glenn from Game of Thrones it's basically a very balanced story and take on First World War Kaiser Germans coming into Belgium and the clash, but it really follows both sides equally. So we're not just looking at the Germans as that's the bad guys, or it's the same old thing. And it's just a very nice, balanced, heartfelt film. It is a war film, but it's not really, the war is not the spectacle. But we've literally just finished shooting that, so that will be out sometime next year. Who knows?
Awesome. Congratulations on that. And also congrats on The Devil Conspiracy.
Thanks, man.
Best of luck on that, you guys. Joe Anderson, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. Don't forget to watch Barbarian.
Barbarian. It's on.
But also, everybody, make sure to check out The Devil Conspiracy when it comes out in theaters, January 13th. Joe, it's been a pleasure.
Brilliant. Thank you, buddy. Good talking. Take care.
Take care, man.
All right. Bye.